Since the pandemic, shelters and rescues all over the country have been facing more and more animals in need, yet fewer resources. In our role to help both Wichita animals and people stay safe, the Wichita Police Department is revitalizing animal control operations. This is to better respond to changing conditions and the dramatic increase in drop-offs and intakes. Here to tell us more is Captain Aaron Moses.
I'm Captain Aaron Moses, the Executive Officer of the Wichita Police Department, here to go over some animal services restructuring within the Wichita Police Department. First, we wanted to discuss some difficulties that we face at the animal shelter. First, there is a state statute that limits our ability to move sick animals to rescues to limit exposure to other animals within the shelter. We do face a challenge of supply and demand. Current challenges are that we are taking in more animals than we have people available to adopt, or that people are wanting to adopt animals. We are looking at our adoption and recovery fees. We've heard from the public that that is a difficulty related to adopting animals out of the shelter. Additionally, we're looking at infrastructure challenges. We're reviewing a report from Kansas State University, and we are adding and prioritizing the recommendations from that report into the City of Wichita Capital Improvement Plan and budgets for implementation of those recommendations. Additionally, we're looking at enhancing social media engagement. One of the city manager's fellows is currently working to develop a social media presence for the shelter to discuss operations and coordinate with local rescues. This is the current organizational structure of animal services. Obviously, at the top would be the city manager and then the chief of police. And then within the Support Services Division, there is the Administrative Services Bureau, which is overseen by a captain, and then an Animal Services Lieutenant. That lieutenant supervises 2 non-commissioned supervisors, and then we have animal control officers and part-time kennel technicians. Moving forward, the new organizational structure will look like this. So you'll have the city manager and then the chief of police, also the Support Services Division, and then we are creating an Animal Services Bureau, and the lieutenant position at Animal Services now will be reclassified to a captain to oversee that functional bureau. Under the Animal Services Captain or Bureau Commander, we are currently accepting applications for a non-commissioned shelter supervisor and rescue coordinator. We are also currently accepting applications for a non-commissioned administrative assistant. That is to assist with phone calls and emails coming into the shelter to ensure that we can respond to those in a more timely manner. Under the non-commissioned shelter supervisor are the 2 non-commissioned supervisors that exist now over the animal control officers, and then you'll notice a change at the bottom, changing all of our part-time kennel technicians to full-time kennel technicians with benefits. The intent behind the full-time kennel technicians is to allow animal control officers to be available to respond to calls on the street and not manage the kennels at the shelter. Just a summary of these new positions. Again, we're reclassifying the lieutenant position to a captain and creating an Animal Services Bureau. This bureau commander will report directly to the Support Services Division Commander or Deputy Chief and manage the budget and personnel at the animal shelter and within the bureau. Again, we are currently accepting applications for a non-commissioned shelter supervisor and rescue coordinator. We're seeking an expert in the animal services and shelter management field who can develop strong relationships with our rescues in the community. And we are also seeking applications for a non-commissioned administrative staff member, again, to assist with managing incoming calls and correspondence to the shelter. And then, again, to summarize, we're converting all part-time kennel technicians to full-time with benefits. The intent behind this is, again, to allow animal control officers to be available to respond to calls for service in the field in a more timely manner. It's a brief overview of the restructuring occurring at Animal Services. Again, with the creation of a functional Animal Services Bureau, removing that out from under Administrative Services. Obviously, Kansas State University is a leader in animal care and animal research, so we requested them to come in and evaluate our shelter and provide us recommendations on how we can improve operations. At the Wichita Police Department, we're constantly striving to improve our operations. We know that we can always do better in every aspect of our operation, and we're always seeking to do better. And one way we do that is we seek out expert opinions. We are not experts in animal care, but the people at Kansas State University are, and so we sought them out to provide guidance on ways we could improve our operation. currently, with the openings of our part-time kennel technician positions, our animal control officers are having to come into the shelter and support those duties. So our intention by converting those to full-time positions with benefits is hopefully to attract more applicants so that our animal control officers won't have to come into the shelter and maintain the kennel technician duties, which will then allow them more time to be out in the community responding to calls for service. What we've already put in place is we worked with the law department to work on city ordinance requiring microchipping of animals. Currently, as of October 7th, about just over 7% of the animals in the shelter are microchipped. That causes us a huge challenge when we try to find the owners of those animals and reconnect those animals to their owners. Additionally, we have not returned to pre-COVID levels of animals being returned to their owners. What we have seen is an increase in animals at the shelter post-COVID. So we've seen an increase of animals coming into the shelter. So far this year alone, we've received 6,733 animals to the shelter. And for example, in 2020, for the entire year, we received just over 7,000 animals. So we have not seen a return to pre-COVID levels of animals coming into the shelter. We've actually seen an increase, and we have not seen a return of the number of animals being returned to their owners. We also haven't seen as many people coming in seeking adoption of animals. So that provides us a challenge, right? Because we are a short-term shelter, which means we are required to have a certain number of kennels open for animals and a certain amount of space open for animals to come into the shelter at all times. And when we don't have as many people coming to adopt animals out of the shelter, but we have more animals coming in, it's a simple math equation that we don't have the space in our shelter to accommodate. We're not building a structure. The restructure of animal services is an organizational restructure, which is what I went over in the presentation. So we're creating an animal services bureau functionally within our organization that does not exist today. Currently, animal services falls under the Administrative Services Bureau. So we will have a fully functional animal services bureau overseen by a captain. What that'll do is we will incorporate animal services into our conversation. Every morning at 9 a.m. we have a command staff meeting with the entire command staff of the police department. Animal services will now be a part of that conversation. Additionally, we have a strategic meeting every week with all of command staff called CompStat. Animal services will also be incorporated into that conversation with this creation of a bureau. Additionally, we're creating that civilian position to coordinate with our local rescues and enhance that relationship we have with local rescues to try to facilitate an increase in adoption rates and an increase in rates of animals being returned to their owners, which will hopefully allow us to have more shelter space. The structural improvements are related to the Kansas State University report that identified ways that we could improve the physical structure of our shelter. And that'll be accomplished through capital improvement program and budget. We've been involved with the Humane Society for a long time, and that will continue. Yeah, so we're going to be capping adoption and recovery fees at, I believe, $150. So that is something that we've heard from the community as a barrier to people coming to retrieve their animals. In the past, the structure of fees was dictated by how long the animal was in the shelter, how much care the animal needed, and it wasn't always the same for everybody. So what we've done is we've reviewed that, heard the concerns of the community, and said, okay, if this is a barrier to adoption, we will cap those fees for everybody at $150.
Thank you again, Captain Moses. I appreciate the Wichita Police Department as well as the council sends their thank you in taking mindful steps to try to improve animal control. But they only represent one small part of that solution. It's up to each of us to help animals right here in our community, and we urge everyone to get your pets microchipped and spayed or neutered, and secure fences as well as doors so that they do not get loose into the community.